The semi-truck came barreling toward us. On pure instinct, I shoved my wife and son out of the way. The impact was a symphony of shattering glass and crunching metal. I was mangled, my limbs broken and twisted, as my life drained away on the asphalt. My wife, Brooke, knelt beside me, her voice as cold as ice. "I have a secret for you," she whispered. "Something to make sure you never rest in peace. The boy, he isn't yours." Her lips curled into a faint smile. "Marrying you was just to get back at you. It was your fault Gavin died." When I opened my eyes again, I was 18. I was standing on the porch of Brooke's house, looking at her and her mother. I was holding a bouquet of flowers. "Kyle, I already told you," Brooke said, her face a mask of youthful impatience. "I need to focus on my college applications right now. I don't have time for a relationship. You should take these back." I stared at her, at the vibrant, unlined face of the girl I once loved, my mind reeling. It felt like a dream. Then it hit me. I was back, reborn. It was my senior year of high school, the very day I tried to ask her out. Brooke was telling me she didn't want my gift, but a delicate silver necklace. One I knew was from Gavin Reed, was gleaming against the pale skin of her neck. In my first life, on the night before the SATs, Gavin had planned to take Brooke street racing. I'd secretly tipped off her mom, who grounded her. Brooke never made it out that night. Gavin did. He died in a fiery crash. Brooke had been hysterical, threatening to kill herself. Her mother, at a loss, sent her to a conservatory in Europe. When she returned 10 years later, she was a world-renowned cellist, elegant and poised. I fell for her all over again. "We were just kids back then," she told me, smiling gently over coffee. "So naive. I know now you were just looking out for me. We fell in love, or so I thought. We got married. We had a son. And then came the semi-truck. I'd instinctively saved them, only to have her whisper those venomous final words in my ear. 'Our son isn't yours. Every time you were away on business, I brought other men home.' She'd hissed. 'I never loved you. Marrying you was my revenge. You killed Gavin, and you should be on your knees in hell, begging for his forgiveness. You spent years raising another man's son, and now you've died to save him. You deserved it, Kyle. It's payback for what you did to Gavin.' I'd taken my last breath staring into her hate-filled eyes. And now, I was back on this day, with these flowers, staring at the girl who would one day destroy me, looking at the beautiful, teenage Brooke. A flicker of pure hatred ignited in my eyes. She saw it and flinched, a flicker of confusion crossing her face. I stepped past her, extending the bouquet to her mother with a charming smile. "Eleanor," I said, my voice smooth, "these are for you. You work so hard. Here's to staying forever young. Maybe we should go out sometime." Both Brooke and her mother, Eleanor Vance, froze. Their eyes were wide with disbelief. Eleanor was in her late 30s, a stunning woman who carried an air of quiet power. She was beautiful, kind, and a powerhouse CEO. After my parents died in my past life, she had helped me immensely. I had always admired and respected her. Sensing the awkwardness, Eleanor recovered first. A small, amused smile played on her lips as she took the flowers. "Well, Kyle, I'll accept these on Brooke's behalf," she said, her voice a warm melody that always calmed the room. "Once you two are done with your exams, you have my blessing to be together." Brooke scoffed, a sneer twisting her pretty features. "Mom, I don't want his flowers. I don't even like him. He's such a pushover. Not like a real man at all. He's not worth 1/10 of Gavin Reed." Eleanor's smile vanished. Her eyes narrowed. "Gavin Reed? Who's that?" Brooke realized her slip. Her face flushed, and she stammered an excuse before bolting from the room. Eleanor started to call after her, but I just smiled. "I should get going," I said to her. "I'll come by and see you again soon." Eleanor stared at me, then down at the flowers in her hand, a strange expression on her face. She gave a small, uncertain nod. Our families had always been close. Eleanor's husband passed away years ago, leaving her to raise a young Brooke while single-handedly managing Vance Industries. Brooke and I were childhood friends, practically joined at the hip. I loved her, and I thought she loved me too. Brooke was a gifted cellist, tall and graceful, destined for a place like Juilliard. Her only weakness was her grades. I, on the other hand, was at the top of my class, a shoo-in for Stanford. Eleanor had begged me to tutor Brooke every night, to help her get into her dream school. It had felt like a perfect story. I'd go to Stanford, she'd go to Juilliard. We'd build a life together, the kind of power couple everyone envied. Then, senior year, Gavin Reed showed up. He was handsome, effortlessly cool, and from a wealthy family. On his first day at our school, he'd put the resident jock king in his place. He was wild, with a short fuse and an air of danger that should have been a warning. He was, in short, the perfect high school bad boy. Most students were terrified of him. Brooke, however, was captivated. Her eyes followed him with a mix of awe, shyness, and undeniable desire. He looks reckless on the outside, but deep down, he's a good person, she'd once told me, her chin resting in her hands, a blush spreading across her cheeks. He protected me from some creeps the other day. I really admire that. I just clenched my jaw, my heart twisting in my chest. I recognized that look. It's the kind of look you can't hide when you're falling for someone. It was the same way I used to look at her. After that, Brooke started cutting class to hang out with Gavin. She even made me lie for her during our tutoring sessions. "Kyle," she'd pleaded, her eyes wide and innocent. "It's Gavin's birthday tonight, so we can skip the session. Can you just cover for me with my mom? Please." It was torture, watching the girl I loved slip away from me. That day, Gavin had swaggered over, wrapping an arm around her waist. "Why are you wasting your breath on this nerd? Let's just go." Brooke's eyes were only for him. She left without a backward glance. To protect her, I told Eleanor countless lies. It wasn't until the night before the SATs, when Brooke told me she was going street racing with Gavin, that I finally drew the line. For the sake of her future, I couldn't let her go. I called Eleanor. That was the night Gavin died. And that was the night Brooke's vengeful obsession with me began. She'd slept with other men, made sure her child wasn't mine, all to avenge Gavin. Well, this time around, I'd let her have her true love. Then I'd have my revenge. And it would start with me becoming her new dad. The next day, I went straight to the downtown skyscraper that housed Vance Industries. In this new life, I knew what was going to happen today. After my parents' deaths in the first timeline, Eleanor had bought out their company from me. A beautiful, single, and powerful woman like her had no shortage of admirers. One of them, however, was dangerously obsessed. He was going to corner her with a knife today, threatening to kill her if she didn't agree to be with him. In the struggle, he'd slash her face, leaving a scar she would carry for the rest of her life. Not this time. I wasn't going to let that happen. As Eleanor walked out of the building's main entrance, the man lunged from the crowd. I was already moving. Eleanor was frozen with fear. The man held a knife to her face. "Eleanor, I really love you. Marry me," he screamed. "If you say no, I'll kill you, and we can be together forever." She struggled, but he was too strong. Just as despair washed over her face, I kicked the man's legs out from under him. I grabbed Eleanor, pulling her away from the scene as I dialed 911. She was trembling in my arms. When she looked up and saw it was me, she gasped, "Kyle, thank God you were here. He would have killed me." I held her tight, whispering, "It's okay. I'm here now." As I held her, my eyes fell on her wrist. A thin, pale scar snaked across it. My breath caught. My pupils contracted, my eyes narrowing as a dark suspicion began to form. I said nothing more, just took Eleanor home. I helped her onto the couch, made her some tea, and sat with her until she calmed down. Finally, I took her hand. "I'm over Brooke," I said, my voice firm. "I'm going to ace my SATs, get into Stanford, and after I graduate, I'll help you run the company. We're going to make things better." Eleanor stared at me, her expression a complex mixture of surprise and something else I couldn't quite read. I wasn't just talking. Stanford was an obsession that had spanned 2 lifetimes. Last time, after Gavin's death, Brooke's blame and my own guilt had shattered my focus. Ibombed till sats. I went from top of the class to a nobody, my dream of an Ivy League education destroyed. This time, heaven had given me a second chance. I would not fail. And after seeing that scar on Eleanor's wrist, I had a new, darker mission. To uncover the truth. I was leaving Eleanor's house when I ran into Brooke. She was locked in a passionate kiss with Gavin by the front gate. When she saw me, she pulled away, her eyes narrowing with suspicion. "Kyle, what are you doing coming out of my house? Did you go snitching to my mom?" I shrugged, affecting an air of complete indifference. "Your mom was harassed by some psycho today. I happened to be there and helped her. I honestly couldn't care less about your private life." Gavin raised an eyebrow, a smirk playing on his lips. "You're not interested? I thought you were Brooke's personal lapdog. That's the word around school. Anyway." Brooke laughed along with him. She casually lit 2 cigarettes. placing one between Gavin's lips and taking a drag from the other. Then, with deliberate cruelty, she blew a cloud of smoke directly into my face. "Don't get any ideas," she said, her voice dripping with contempt. "The only man I love is Gavin. You think sucking up to my mom is going to work? You're pathetic." The smoke hit my lungs, triggering my asthma. I doubled over, coughing, tears streaming from my eyes. She knew about my asthma. She'd always known. But when you're the one being adored, you can get away with anything. She was so sure of my love for her that she knew I'd never get angry. Just then, Gavin's phone rang. His expression darkened as he listened. He muttered a quick excuse to Brooke and took off, leaving her standing alone on the sidewalk. That evening, Eleanor called me, her voice strained. I didn't understand why, but I rushed over. When I arrived, I found Brooke and Gavin kneeling on the living room floor in front of her. Gavin, though on his knees, radiated defiance. "Look, Eleanor," he said, his tone anything but apologetic. "Just sign the papers to drop the charges. My dad really likes you. He just lost his head for a minute. You can't let him go to jail for that." Brooke was sobbing. "Mom, Mr. Reed didn't mean it. You're not hurt, so just let it go, please." Eleanor looked relieved to see me. She quickly explained what had happened, and I was stunned. The man who had attacked her outside her office was Gavin's father. He'd been pursuing her for years and, driven by rejection, had finally snapped. This was getting interesting. I looked at Brooke kneeling on the floor. "You say your mom isn't hurt," I said calmly. "If I hadn't shown up, she'd be dead or disfigured. Do you really think she could just forgive him then?" Gavin shot to his feet and punched me squarely in the jaw. "Shut up, you damn nerd," he snarled. "This has nothing to do with you. Get the hell out of here before I kill you." I wiped a smear of blood from my lip. Seeing the worry on Eleanor's face, I met Gavin's glare without flinching. "Go ahead. Kill me. Then you and your dad can be cellmates." Brooke jumped up, positioning herself between me and Gavin. "Kyle, can you just stop making things worse?" she demanded. "This is our family business. I'm asking you to leave." I looked at her twisted, angry face and shook my head inwardly. How had I ever loved a girl like this? In my past life, I truly got what I deserved. Ignoring Brooke's outburst, I said coolly, "Fine. I won't interfere in your so-called family business. After all, if your mom forgives his dad and they get married, you and Gavin instantly become step-siblings. Hilarious when you think about it. Isn't it?" Brooke froze. She obviously hadn't considered that. Her jaw twitched as she shot an anxious look at Gavin. Gavin's face turned crimson with rage. "They are not getting married," he yelled. "I'm going to marry Brooke. Eleanor, forgive my dad. If you don't, I'll take Brooke to get an abortion, and you'll never be a grandmother." This time, both Eleanor and I were floored. Brooke was pregnant? With Gavin's baby? In a flash of fury, Eleanor slapped Brooke across the face. Then her anger dissolved into anguish, and she pulled her daughter into a hug, sobbing. "Honey, your father died so young. I know I haven't been the perfect mother, but how could you do this to yourself?" Brooke's eyes held a cunning glint as she feigned misery. "Mom, just forgive Mr. Reed first," she whimpered. "I promise I'll be good from now on. I'll listen to you." Torn between anger and desperation, and seeing the resolve in Brooke's eyes, Eleanor reluctantly agreed. I, however, was lost in thought. After I left Eleanor's house, Brooke followed me out. "Your little scheme didn't work," she hissed. "My mom still loves me more than anyone, and I'm not pregnant. I was just bluffing. You'd better watch yourself from now on, or Gavin will make you pay." A cold smile touched my lips. I just shrugged and walked away into the night. In the weeks that followed, Brooke and Gavin were inseparable, their grades plummeting as their romance intensified. I, on the other hand, buried myself in my studies. Barring any disaster, I was on track for Stanford. Eleanor, seeing she couldn't break the two of them up, seemed to give up trying. Meanwhile, Eleanor and I spoke every day. Our bond grew stronger, more comfortable. One afternoon, I was over at her house. She was reaching for something on the top shelf of a closet, standing on a chair, when she lost her balance and fell. I moved without thinking, catching her in my arms. For a few seconds, we were frozen like that. Eleanor stared at me, her lips slightly parted, her breathing unsteady. Her eyes were a swirl of confusion. "Kyle," she murmured almost to herself, "you're so much like your father." My eyes narrowed. The suspicion that my parents' death wasn't an accident grew stronger. Just then, the front door opened. Brooke was home, She stopped dead in the doorway, her eyes wide as she took in the scene of me holding her mother in my arms. The expression on her face was a priceless cocktail of shock, confusion, and disgust. If I can't be your husband, I can be your father. Eleanor quickly pushed me away, her cheeks flushed. Brooke, you're home early. Didn't Gavin drive you? My arm was still loosely around Eleanor's waist. I turned my head and gave Brooke a lazy smirk. What unfortunate timing. You're back so soon. An array of emotions warred on Brooke's face. Her lip trembled. You're disgusting, she finally spat out, before turning and running out of the house, sobbing. The next day after school, Brooke and Gavin cornered me in an alley behind the gym, a few of their friends backing them up. Gavin took a long drag from his cigarette, the picture of arrogance. Walker, he sneered. You're a sly one, aren't you? Getting close to Brooke's mom. You after her money? I'm telling you to back off, or you'll regret it. Brooke's face was flushed with anger. You're vile, Kyle. When you couldn't have me, you went after my mother. I can't believe I was ever friends with you. As they moved in to attack me, flashing lights filled the alley. The police were there. They were all taken in for assault and bullying. It had all gone according to my plan. I told a friend that if I got jumped, he was to record everything on his phone and call the cops immediately. I uploaded the video of the attack online. It went viral. Gavin Reed became infamous overnight. Even with his father's corporate connections, there was no sweeping this under the rug. Gavin was suspended, held in juvenile detention for a week, and then promptly expelled from school. A week later, Brooke knocked on my door. Kyle, she said, her voice laced with a desperate sort of charm. I'm in trouble. You have to help me. I looked at her plaintive expression and felt nothing. Sorry, I'm busy. If you need help, go ask your mother. She pouted, her eyes darting around nervously. Then she simply pushed past me into my apartment. I'm pregnant, she said, her voice dropping to a resentful murmur. I don't have money for an abortion. My mom's cut me off completely. No allowance. Nothing. I gave all the money I had saved to Gavin. She looked at me, trying to summon the old dynamic between us. Kyle, you like me, don't you? Can you just lend me a few thousand? I swear I'll pay you back. I shrugged. I don't have it. Her brow furrowed in annoyance. What do you mean you don't have money? Your parents left you a huge inheritance when they died. It all went to you. I let out a cold laugh. The money my parents left me is for marrying a good woman, someone with class and integrity, not a pregnant liar. Her face hardened. What's wrong with being pregnant before marriage? True love isn't a mistake. She shot back. You're just jealous of Gavin. Because you love me, and I didn't choose you. You're angry, aren't you? But you can't force me to love you. In 2 lifetimes. It's always been Gavin. My eyes narrowed. 2 lifetimes? Could it be? Was she reborn too? In that case, you're free now. Free to chase your one true love. You're pregnant. I said, my voice flat. You got what you wanted. You and Gavin can be together. Her face fell. She bit her lip. I haven't told him, she muttered. And why should I? I gave him everything. And the minute he got out of juvie, he dumped me. Her voice rose with hysteria. He'll regret it. I'm going to make him see that he's the one who killed our child. She glared at me, her eyes wild. This is just like you, Kyle. You're so petty. I'll say it again. I don't love you, and you can't control me with your money. With that, she stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Through the frosted glass, I thought I saw the glint of tears on her cheek. A few days later, I was out shopping with Eleanor when my phone rang. It was the hospital. Brooke had gone to a back alley clinic for the procedure. She started hemorrhaging, and they'd rushed her to the emergency room. After a long and difficult surgery, the doctors couldn't save her uterus. When we saw her, she was pale and fragile, a ghost of her former self. After she woke up, Eleanor stood by her bed, her voice tight with a mixture of anger and grief. How many times did I tell you to respect yourself, Brooke? What are you going to do now? What does your future even look like? Should I just start over with a new kid? Brooke was silent, but tears streamed down her face, soaking the pillow. She was filled with regret, but when her gaze fell on me, it was laced with hatred. This is all your fault, Kyle, she rasped. If you had just given me the money, I could have gone to a real hospital. This never would have happened. I smiled inwardly but said nothing. I would watch, stone-faced, as she descended into the abyss she had dug for herself. This was for the life she had cost me. Seeing my silence, she grew more agitated. Where's Gavin? Didn't you tell him? Don't you dare hide this from him. I want him to see what I've suffered for him. Gavin got out, I said calmly. He didn't go back to school. I hear he's with your best friend, Sarah, now. They're together all the time. By the time you get out of here, they might already be starting a family. Brooke stared at me, her eyes wide with disbelief. No, she whispered. Gavin loves me. He would never. Not after everything I sacrificed for him. She began to look unhinged, her eyes darting around wildly. So this was the great love she had chased across 2 lifetimes? What a pathetic joke. In the following months, I focused on my studies while simultaneously digging into the real cause of my parents' deaths. A month later, Brooke was discharged and went home. Eleanor and I continued to see each other, our connection deepening. Brooke watched us, helpless, as Eleanor ignored her completely, refusing to give her a single dollar. One evening, as I was leaving their house, I saw Gavin. His face was bruised and swollen, all his former good looks gone. He was standing on the lawn, screaming at the house. You wanted an apology, so here it is. Hey, Brooke, guess you can never be a mom now. It's your own damn fault. Who told you to be so easy? You're just a cheap piece of trash who threw herself at me. If you don't respect yourself, why the hell should I respect you? It turned out that after the incident, Eleanor had used her corporate power to sever all ties with Gavin's father's company. His father, ruined, had taken his anger out on Gavin and forced him to come here and apologize. This was the result. Gavin saw me and let out a harsh laugh. Well, if it isn't Mr. Second Choice, still simping for Brooke? Even after all this? Go for it, man. Have fun. At least you don't have to worry about knocking her up, because she can't get pregnant anymore. Ha! The front door creaked open. A frail-looking Brooke stood there, her eyes wide with shock. Gavin? She whispered, her voice trembling. I loved you for 2 lifetimes. How could you do this to me? How can you be so cruel? Gavin just sneered. You bitch. You got me expelled. You got my dad fired. You deserve everything that's happened to you. And don't give me that 2 lifetimes crap. If there's a next life, I'll screw you over again, just for fun. He spat on the ground and walked away. Brooke crumpled to her knees on the doorstep, utterly broken. She cried for a long time before finally looking up at me, her eyes filled with a dawning horror. You're getting revenge on me, aren't you, Kyle? You're this calculating. What do you know? What do you remember? I smiled, a cold, thin smile. You can be reborn. Why can't I? I still remember every word you said to me before I died. Brooke's eyes widened in disbelief. You're reborn, too? No wonder. No wonder. But don't think you've won. I see your little plan. Last life, I didn't get to be with Gavin. This life, we'll be together, and we'll be happy. I shrugged. Tomorrow is the anniversary of his accident. I hope you can stop him from dying this time. After all, I'm not done playing yet. Brooke sat there, stunned into silence, her trembling lips betraying the terror in her heart. Inside the house, Eleanor had been listening to our entire conversation, her expression unreadable in the dim light of the hallway. The night before it Sats. I was ready. I went to the spot where Gavin's accident had happened. He was there, laughing and showing off with a group of bikers, a new girl clinging to his back. Brooke appeared, stumbling toward them. She fell to her knees in front of Gavin, pleading, Gavin, please don't ride tonight. You'll get in an accident. It's dangerous. He glared down at her. You bitch. You're a curse. Ever since I met you, nothing has gone right for me. Get the hell out of my way. She threw herself in front of his motorcycle. Believe me. Please. Just believe me this once. You're going to die. Gavin revved the engine and plowed right into her. The bike shot past, the new girl on the back flipping Brooke the middle finger. Brooke lay on the pavement, her arm bent at an unnatural angle, the bones in her wrist shattered. A few moments later, a deafening crash echoed from down the road. Gavin's motorcycle had slammed into a semi-truck. Brooke passed out from the pain. I watched it all unfold, my expression cold and impassive, then turned and walked away. Tomorrow, I had the most important exam of my life, and after I succeeded, I would get justice for my parents. 2 days later, the exams were over. I felt a profound sense of relief. It had gone well. I heard from classmates that Gavin's body was unrecognizable, completely destroyed in the crash. Brooke's hand was so badly broken she would never play the cello again. I also heard that in the hospital, she was delirious, screaming that she needed to see Gavin one last time. Eleanor had shattered that hope with a single slap across the face. Brooke was stunned. "Mom," she whispered. "You've never hit me in my entire life. You're so cruel. From now on, I'm not your daughter anymore." Eleanor's reply was chillingly calm. "Fine with me. I'll just start over." Brooke's world crumbled on the spot. The day the SAT scores were released, I was ecstatic. I'd scored a 1590. Stanford was a lock. I went to their house. In front of a bandaged, hollow-eyed Brooke, I got down on one knee. I held up a diamond ring to Eleanor. "I love you," I said, my voice clear and steady. "Let me protect you for the rest of our lives." Eleanor's eyes widened. A flicker of disbelief followed by a wave of pure, unadulterated pleasure. "I'm so lucky," she breathed. "Just like your father when he was young. You take my breath away." She didn't hesitate. She nodded, her eyes shining with a strange, triumphant light. Brooke, her arm still in a cast, looked like she had been struck by lightning. Her face was a canvas of pure chaos. She sank to the floor, her mind seemingly snapping. I smiled softly. The poor girl is so young. She's probably having trouble processing it. Going from classmate to stepfather is a bit much. Eleanor playfully slapped my arm, but her gaze was firm. "Whether she accepts it or not doesn't matter. I'm never letting you go. I've been waiting for you to protect me, my little man." She turned to her daughter. "Brooke, sweetie, say hello to your new father." I looked down at the broken girl on the floor. "That's right, honey," I said, savoring the words. "Call me Dad." 2 months later, my acceptance letter from Stanford arrived. For the next 4 years, I divided my time between my studies and remotely helping Eleanor manage her empire. As promised, Eleanor completely cut Brooke out of her life. 4 years later, we held a lavish wedding. That night, a tipsy Eleanor murmured in my arms as she drifted off to sleep, "William, I finally married you." I held her, a strange glint in my eyes. William was my father's name. After the wedding, Eleanor handed the reins of the corporation over to me. It didn't take long for me to gain full control. Under my leadership, the company thrived, reaching new heights. My day of reckoning was getting closer. One day, I was in another city inspecting a new mall development when I heard a woman's hysterical cries. "Honey, why are you doing this to me? I work my fingers to the bone to support us, and you go out and find a mistress? We have nothing, but you have no problem spending money on her. How could you?" The woman was a mess, her hair unkempt, her clothes worn. Her grief was so raw that even strangers stopped to stare. I turned. It was Brooke. For years, I'd had someone keep tabs on her, not out of love, but because I wanted her to have a front row seat for my revenge. Brooke was kneeling on the sidewalk, clinging to a man's leg. He looked panicked but stood his ground. "You can't have kids," he yelled, trying to shake her off. "I have a right to have a family." What was I supposed to do? "You lived a wild life when you were young, so why do I have to pay the price?" Brooke froze, her face slack with shock. "You bastard," she sobbed. "You said you didn't care about my past. You said you would love me." The man kicked her away and stalked off with his new girlfriend in tow. Suddenly, Brooke saw me in the crowd. I was wearing a tailored suit, my glasses glinting in the afternoon sun. She flinched and quickly looked away, as if not seeing me would make me disappear. I walked over and helped her to her feet. We walked in silence for a block. "Do you still play?" I asked softly. She clutched her scarred wrist and shook her head. "I can't. My hand. It's not flexible enough anymore." She glanced at me, a sigh escaping her lips. "You got into Stanford, took over my mom's company. You're doing well." She was right. I was in charge of a corporate empire. My life was challenging and fulfilling. It was everything I had dreamed of in my first life. All that was left was avenging my parents. That too was coming soon. "Reborn?" Brooke murmured, her voice thick with emotion. "I thought I would finally marry Gavin, the man I loved. I thought we'd build a happy life together. It was all just a dream, an obsession. In my last life, I wronged you. I hated you. I wanted to destroy you. And I was wrong. God, I was so wrong. I threw away the one person who ever truly loved me." Her voice broke. "I regret it, Kyle. I really do. Now look at me. I'm broken. I'm alone. I have no you, no mother. I have nothing." I shrugged. "But the story isn't over, is it? Don't you want to know why Eleanor disowned you?" Brooke's eyes shot open. The first words out of my mouth sent her reeling. "You're not Eleanor's biological daughter." I only figured that out in this life. As I laid out the story, Brooke began to fall apart. Eleanor couldn't have children. Brooke was the daughter of her first husband, who had died when she was just a toddler. Though not her own flesh and blood, Eleanor had raised her as if she were. She had poured everything into Brooke, but her constant self-destruction finally exhausted Eleanor's patience, leading her to sever their ties. Brooke was silent for a long time, interested in seeing a show. I asked, a smile playing on my lips. She looked up. What show? My smile tightened, my voice dropping to a low, menacing growl. Gavin is dead. His father wants revenge. I'm going to show you what real vengeance looks like. I brought Brooke back to my city. We sat in my car, parked across the street from the house that was once hers. Kyle, she whispered. I was wrong in our last life. I shouldn't have treated you that way. I destroyed everything for a love that wasn't even real. I held up a hand. You always thought I was the one who snitched to your mom, that I was the reason you couldn't meet Gavin that night, and that his death was my fault. Brooke nodded. That had been the foundation of her hatred. She started to speak, but I cut her off. You were right, in a way. This life I finally understood. I was responsible for his death. Indirectly. She looked at me, confused. Before she could ask, Eleanor's car pulled into the driveway. Just as she got out, a man burst from the shadows, a knife flashing in his hand. He stabbed her again and again. When he was done, he sat down in the spreading pool of blood and began to laugh a hollow, broken laugh. Son, he sobbed. Dad got revenge for you. I got out of the car with Brooke and called 911 and the police. That's Gavin's father. Brooke screamed. Why would you kill her? The man grinned, a demonic look on his face. That's right. That crazy bitch killed my son. So I killed her. With that, he staggered to his feet and ran off into the darkness. Eleanor lay dying on the pavement, her expression a mask of agony. She reached a hand out, pleading for help. I knelt beside her. Eleanor, I said quietly, I'm not William. I'm his son. Her eyes widened in shock. Kyle, you know? How could you know? I glanced at the old scar on her wrist, then turned to Brooke. Do you know what happened to Eleanor before she married your father? Brooke shook her head, and I began to unravel a secret 20 years in the making. My father, William, had a first love, Eleanor. They were about to get married when a medical checkup revealed she was infertile. My father's family forced them to break up. Devastated, Eleanor tried to kill herself by slitting her wrists. She was saved, but the scar remained. After my father married my mother, his wife found out about Eleanor and never let it go. She even talked about it in front of me when I was little, planting the memory deep in my mind. That's why I recognized the scar. As my father's business grew, his path crossed with Eleanor's again. She had never stopped loving him, but that love had curdled into a possessive, destructive hatred. She decided that if she couldn't have him, no one could. She orchestrated the accident that killed both my parents, leaving me an orphan. Then, she swooped in and took over my family's company. Her obsession then turned to me. From William to Kyle, she wouldn't let either of us go. She knew I liked you, Brooke, so she used one of her obsessive suitors, Gavin's father. She had him transfer Gavin to our school into our class, specifically to lure you away from me. That way, she could keep me by her side. But she saw my love for you didn't die, and that you still had feelings for me. The night before the SATs, when I told her you were going out with Gavin, she saw her chance. She had someone tamper with Gavin's motorcycle brakes. His death would make you hate me forever, severing our bond for good. I finished, and Brooke was trembling uncontrollably. But Kyle, she cried, in our past life we ended up together. She didn't stop us. A bloody smile stretched across Eleanor's face. Because in that life, Kyle never stopped loving you, she choked out. No matter what I did, his heart was yours. So I decided to destroy him instead. You wanted revenge? I helped you get it. The car crash that killed him. That was my plan all along. Brooke and I stared at her, horrified. Her laugh was a wet, gurgling sound that chilled me to the bone. That's right. I was reborn, too. Did you really think I didn't know you were? Kyle? I knew from the beginning. You thought you were getting revenge on Brooke by marrying me? You played right into my hands. I finally got you. Ha! My dream came true. William, I have your son. I watched, stunned, as the life faded from her eyes. A few minutes later, the paramedics and police arrived. Eleanor was pronounced dead at the scene. Gavin's father was later found to have drowned himself in the river. The police investigation uncovered evidence of Eleanor's role in the deaths of my parents and Gavin Reed. As her legal husband, I inherited her entire fortune. Brooke was lost, reborn to chase a great love. She was instead abandoned, left infertile and crippled, then cast aside by another man. This was the life she had chosen. Now, she kneels outside my front gate every single day, whispering the same words over and over. Kyle, husband, I was wrong. Please, forgive me. And I sit here, behind the floor-to-ceiling windows, and I watch her. I feel no joy, no sorrow, no anger, no peace. The rest of my life is a long time, and our little game is just beginning.